Hello children. Today in our English literature class we will study about a famous story which is also a horror story written by Ruskin Bond. This story is entitled A Face in the Dark. Ruskin Bond was an Indian author of British descent, and this story makes skillful use of all the elements of horror stories: fear, surprise, suspense, and mystery to explore humanity's collective fascination with the dark. Let's see what is in the story. The scene is set in a pine forest on the outskirts of the hill station of Shimla. Mr. Oliver, an Anglo-Indian teacher who was still a bachelor, was returning to his school late one night. He had been teaching in this school for several years now. He used to take a stroll into the town in the evening and return after dark while taking a shortcut through the pine forests. Sometimes, when there was a strong wind, the pine trees made sad and eerie sounds, fearing which people stayed on the main road. Sometimes, when there was a strong wind, there were the people who really were afraid of the pine forests because of the eerie and weird sounds that came through the forest. But Mr. Oliver was not a nervous or imaginative man. That day, he carried his torch, but the batteries were running down. So he was hardly able to see his way in the dark. Suddenly, the flickering light fell on the figure of a boy who was sitting alone on a rock. Mr. Oliver immediately asked the boy, "What are you doing out here, boy?" Mr. Oliver sensed that something was wrong. The boy seemed to be crying with his head hung down. He held his face in his hands and his body shook convulsively. It was a strange, soundless weeping. Mr. Oliver again asked the boy, "Well, what's the matter? What are you crying for?" The boy did not look up or answer his questions. "Come on, boy. You shouldn't be out here at this hour. Tell me the trouble. Look up." Mr. Oliver was very angry. The boy looked up, and Mr. Oliver's facial expression changed, giving way to horror. The boy did not have a face. It was just a round, smooth ball. It had no eyes, ears, nose, or mouth. The torch fell from the teacher's hand, and he ran as fast as he could, blindly through the trees, shouting for help. He stumbled up to the watchman, gasping for breath. Mr. Oliver was really very frightened at the weird boy that he saw in the forest. The watchman immediately asked, "What is it, Sahib? Has there been an accident? Why are you running?" I saw something horrible, Mr. Oliver said. He was really gasping for breath. And he continued his words, a boy weeping in the forest, and he had no face. No face, Sahib? The watchman asked. No eyes, nose, mouth, nothing. He didn't have any features on his face. Do you mean it was like this, Sahib? It was horrible again. The watchman also didn't have a face. Not a single feature on his face. He didn't have eyes, nose, mouth, nothing. It was a weird thing to have. This was a frightening experience for the teacher. That's when the wind blew the lamp out and everything was in dark. There ends the story where it is dark and everything was frightening. Thank you and have a nice day.